Walter Wonkite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
You know I blame it on industry. I blame it on my own hypocrisy. Miseducation and politicians. No one's willing to step up and speak.
Hello and welcome to the Pace Radio Show. We are live. Yes, we are live here at lifestyleradio.net, as well as in Canada's in downtown Campbellford. I even got my new on-air light and sign on in the front window. I'm your host, Al Graham. Joining me tonight is my joint host, Kim Cooper, who has a guest that loves adventures, motorcycles, and talking about cannabis. But first, Kim and I are going to have our usual chat. Well, Kim, how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad. I'm kind of hanging in. I've been struggling with a migraine. It's change of season time for me, and I always struggle with migraines at this time of the year. But I'm here and plugging away and ready to do the show.
Change of season. Does that mean you got flurries?
Yeah, we've had -5 up here for a couple of days this week. If we have any precipitation at all that happens, it's going to be snow.
Oh. Stop that foul language. I know, we live in Canada, right? We got to expect snow, right?
Yeah, welcome to October.
That's right. Okay, for our quick news item tonight, Kim, and that's a bit of an announcement.
Yeah, big announcement. I think pat on the back all the way around to everybody involved. The Pace Radio Show has taken yet another nomination for a Canadian Cannabis Award this year.
That's right. Second year in a row we've been nominated for the top podcast. And last year we ended up in second overall, finalists. Got ourselves a nice little award for our logo. Yeah. Very exciting for all involved. We have 3 joint hosts on the show, as well as you that leads us through the night, so to speak, and through the haze of it all, and guiding us through all of this experience. You've brought all of us on board, Alan, created this show and gave us all a voice, and it's been a really one hell of a ride. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and much deserved kudos for the show, for sure. It's about getting the word out, giving people a voice, and the fact that our 3 joint hosts, Debbie Stoltz-Kiffin, she's in the Atlantic provinces. Kim, you're here in Ontario, and then Alicia Yashishin, she's out in the Midwest. So we spread across the country. Yeah, we get to cover the country coast to coast with different perspectives, peoples from different walks of life and different genres and so forth. So it's not one constant view. It's an ever evolving and ever changing show with a variety of guests and some big movers and shakers in the industry and some patients and their, wonderfully touching stories right from the heart. So great variety, and I've loved doing the show in the last 3.5 years. It's been fantastic, and I look forward to many more years to come. Likewise, same here. It's about getting the information, giving people a voice, like you say, and getting the word out there. And it doesn't matter whether they're people who are well known or people who are very not known at all. That's right. Everybody has a voice. Grassroots advocates and getting the information out there to the people, and from every walk of life. Yeah, well, and not only has the Pace Radio Show been nominated for top podcast, but Kim, yourself, you've got yourself a nomination too. Blow my mind for sure. Nominated this year for Canada's top influencer. I was gobstruck. I was in awe. I'm looking at this email and I'm going, no way.
No way. To be just even thought of in the same category as some of the people that are also nominated in this category is amazing to me. It's an honor just to be nominated. I'm thrilled by it all, and I don't know what else to say except thank you to whoever nominated me.
Yeah, exactly. I know how you feel. Same with the Pace Radio Show. And anybody who's interested in voting, you can do that at the CanadianCannabisAwards.com website.
Yeah, absolutely. So get your votes in for various categories, including art.
Exactly. There's lots of categories there. Check them all out. So.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Kim, it's time to move on to our guest.
Yeah, we got a great show lined up with an awesome guy that I really enjoy talking about the issues with, I'll tell you that. So looking forward to getting to this.
Okay, well, at this time, I'd like to bring in our guest, who I described as someone who loves adventures, motorcycles, and talking about cannabis. We'd like to welcome Mik Mann to the Pace Radio Show. Hello, Mik. How are you?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. We're a little chilly, but other than that.
Yeah, I think we're about 3 weeks maybe behind you as far as winter goes here on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys got a couple extra weeks on us, that's for sure.
I sure hope so. I'm still riding.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, if you get here to Ontario and start riding, you'll see some really nice colors because the trees are changing.
Yeah, pretty much the interior has. I'm not going to make it over the mountains, really. I think we're pretty much stuck on the coast until the spring now.
Yeah, welcome to Canada. Lots going on in Canada these days, eh, Mik?
Oh, that's for sure. Lots of interesting stuff in the news. I guess my life's work has come to fruition, which is, I guess, the pseudo-legalization that's coming around the corner.
Yeah. I mean, I want to get into all of this with you. Of course, for anybody that's under a rock out there and doesn't know who Mik is, Mik Mann, formerly known also in Toronto as Opus 420, when you had your show on Pot TV out of Vapor Central during your little stint here in Ontario. Back out to BC, and you're under the heading of Mik Mann. You're work for 12 High Chicks as well as various other enterprises in the cannabis industry out there. You're a patient. You consume for arthritis and for chronic pain. And you recently had a chance to take part in a bit of a study or a survey or a test run, so to speak, on Canadian new legalization platform for drivers, right?
Well, I should tell you this. I'll start from the beginning. A friend of mine, Rob Laurie, who's an attorney here in BC, he mentioned to me that CTV was looking for medical users to do a driving study, a story on driving and cannabis.
Right.
So I contacted the reporter, Mi Jung Lee, and I got to be one of the test subjects. So one day we ended up going to the Delta Police Department, which is like a private city police, but it's not the RCMP. And we had one of their drug recognition experts give me the test.
So this is a certified DRE, right? Certified DRE, right?
Mik, did you drive there?
No, I took transit.
Okay, all right. I was just curious. Okay, go ahead.
So at that point, so we had their drug recognition expert tested me. He did 2 parts. Now, you got to understand, there's a 12-step test that the drug recognition expert, the DRE, can administer. Now, I only did 2 of these tests. The first part was standing with my feet together, hands at my side, and he held a pen in front of me, and I had to follow it with my eyes only from side to side.
Right.
At one point, and another point, he went up over my head with it, and I had to do the same thing. Now, which I passed that part of the test. I also got to tell you, I smoked a bowl before he tested me. I went off to the side like it was filmed, and I consumed a bowl of cannabis.
Yeah.
And then he tested me right away. The eye test I passed. Then I had to do the heel-toe walking the line part, which sounds simple, but it's not quite that simple. Because while the officer is setting up the test, so he's having you stand with your feet together, heels, toes touching, hands at your sides, and he's eyes straight ahead, and he's observing how you follow these instructions.
Right.
So it's not just like you're standing there going, okay, I'm going to be ready, but if you start fidgeting around, you're not following instructions.
Okay.
So what he's actually, because he explained this to us, he's actually trying to see how well you multitask.
Right.
And then he demonstrates the whole how he wants you to walk heel-toe, counting out loud. You got to look at your feet. There's a certain way you had to do a shuffle turn thing and then go back. That part, and then there was another section of that also where I had to stand and hold 1 foot about 6 inches off the ground in front of me, like straight leg, hands at my sides, and balance and count to I think he had me count up to 30 almost.
Wow.
Yeah. So, which he said, well, it's questionable. He says, I would have failed you on that part, and I would have gotten it.
He was aware you smoked a bowl, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he knew.
Okay, so now did bias come into play there, do you think?
Well, maybe some, but I think because the camera's on him and everything else, it's hard to say. Does he need to perform his properly and say, oh, well, no, this guy looks perfect, even though he just smoked a bowl in front of me?
Right.
My thinking is you get 10 people or 20 people and have 10 of them smoke in a blind test, and he's not going to get 10 out of 10. There's no way.
Right.
Now, the other point
now,
is
would you be able to pass that test if you didn't smoke that bowl?
Okay, well, here's an interesting point. Age also has a very big play on these tests. And if you're 60 or older, and sometimes is a little bit younger, in your 50s, the test actually, the results, the drop by about 30%. The accuracy drops by at least 30%.
Right.
Wow.
Because you're not capable.
Well, because there's medical issues. A lot of people, as they reach 50 and up, have certain medical issues, and it just, and also parts of the test are easily can be sort of fudged. For instance, when you're following the pen with your eyes, they're looking from side to side. He's trying to see if there's going to be any jerky motions in your eyes, and that's easy to do. All he has to do is move the pen a little bit outside the parameters.
Right.
And he can elicit that response.
Right.
Another thing to note, and this is very clear on anyone you talk to about the drug recognition experts, is it's very much up to the officer's discretion. It's entirely discretionary. It's completely, he just has to not like something about you and say, well, I think that you might be impaired, and I'm going to give you a 24-hour suspension and tow your car.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it.
Yes.
Whether you're impaired or not.
Yeah.
and that will still reflect on a person's insurance, would it not?
That's right.
Well, I'm not really sure about that if you have a whole bunch of those. I mean, if you have one, maybe, I don't know. But if you have a few of them, I'm sure you're going to get questioned about it. So, it opens up a slippery slope. It's interesting to note that I do know that another one of the steps, I believe it's the 9th step in the 12-part program, is ask them.
Ask them if they smoked.
Literally, have you smoked marijuana? That's one of the things in the 12 steps.
But it's way down there at number 9.
Yeah, so put it this way: if you're pulled over and the police say, we suspect you've been using marijuana, so we're going to take you down to the station and have a drug recognition expert test you. They might go through the whole 12 steps. You never know. Or if they're doing it on the roadside, like I say, they might just walk the line and hold up a pen because those are the things they have at their disposal.
Yeah. Now, did you were you educated at all, or did you ask any questions, or do you know if how long, if they do the whole 12 steps, how long does that process take?
I don't know exactly.
Because I've heard various things, everything from 1 hour to 4 hours.
Yeah, it kind of depends. Usually they're going to give you probably 2, maybe 3 of the step tests. And I mean, if they figure, oh, you failed this one, he gives you another one, oh, you didn't pass that one. At that point, he may just say, we suspect you're under the influence. And at that point, they can demand a fluid sample.
Right.
And then they go down that road, which usually means they're probably trying to pursue an actual charge.
Right. Right. And then that's when you get all kinds of
rather than, because you got to understand too, a lot of people aren't aware of this, but like for instance, drinking and driving is no longer a criminal offense anymore.
Yep.
Right? They've taken that off that book and changed the law. And they've made it very arbitrary. To the cop, it's just up to their discretion now. Well, at least with pot. With alcohol, there's it's easier to obtain evidence, and we have evidence that it does impair people and your ability to drive.
That is definitely in question with cannabis.
Now, when you did this test, was it when you did this test, Mick, was that other patient there with you at the same time?
Yeah, there was another cannabis user there. She was an older lady. She walked with a cane. She was driven there. So I mean, and she also had been using cannabis less than a year.
Yeah,
and she uses drops.
The oil.
The oil,
right.
Under the tongue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So. I seen on the video that they made her walk the line, and you just mentioned she uses a cane.
And that was why I brought that up.
They don't show no.
I don't think she could do it without the cannabis oil.
Well, that was it, and and also the fact. I mean, she's wearing flip flops.
Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't.
She was a heavier lady, a little on the overweight side. I mean, just so, and walks with a cane. She had hip issues. Obviously, trying to make someone walk heel toe, an older woman who walks with a cane it's just not feasible. Of course, she almost fell over.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny the way they did that. They kind of portrayed it as like, oh well, this is an epic fail, and it's like, but I kind of laughed because I thought, you know what? I think that would be an epic fail if she didn't have the drops.
Right.
That's what I wanted too. No, she said she got high off of the drops. She said that her head felt a little...
She felt woozy.
Woozy, yeah.
Loopy.
Yeah.
Well, when they make you stare at your feet and stand with your feet together, it can probably throw you off a little.
Yeah.
You see? And I mean, and that was another part. When I'm walking the line, well, I started to look straight up ahead. And he goes, no, look at your feet. Well,
that's hard.
That throws you off balance.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to balance, the way to do that, they'll always tell you focus on a point in the distance to hold your balance.
That's right.
They tell you that in yoga when you're trying to do a 1-foot pose. Focus on a space in the distance, and if you're having trouble holding your balance.
Yeah,
and
it
works.
The same as being on a ride, at an amusement park. When you look straight down, that's when you get dizzy.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The vertigo kicks in. So, for sure.
Yeah. So are they setting people up to fail?
Well, it almost looks like it could happen, which is why I'd like to see a bunch of guys go through a road check and have people like blow reefers in their car, but have them not smoke any, and then go through all these road checks and get them tested.
Yeah.
And then have it like all documented on video. Well, look, no, the passenger smoked. He got out. This guy drove through, and you're telling him he's impaired. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Because you smelled something.
That's right.
So
that would
again,
that's your pass.
That's the blind test. You see, we could, if somebody wanted to, they just have to sit around over the Christmas rush, couple people willing to, spend some time. Oh, there's a roadblock. Fine, they're easy to find. Go and set them up.
Do a you say you put a person who hasn't consumed in the driver's seat, and I'm assuming that short amount of time for them to get into the ride program, they would inhale through their mouth, maybe pick up some THC just from the smoke in the vehicle, and
there was a kid recently somewhere suspended from a Catholic school because the teacher smelled marijuana. She was like, I can't get to school without walking by 20 different people on the street smoking pot.
Yeah.
Of course,
and she suspended the kid, and he never consumed, but he smelled like it.
Right. So it was like he offered, no, look at my things, look at my blocker, check me. Nope, they wouldn't have any of it because they had a whiff of a substance. People are freaking. I feel that after legalization has been around for a bit, that's all going to go away. It's a lot of hysteria over odor right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's about to go. That'll go away soon because
it's going to take time.
Well, nothing's going to change. I think we're going to wake up the next day and it'll be like, yeah, ho-hum, big deal. One of the stores open. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of people seem to be viewing this with the ones that are part of this mass hysteria that is out there. It's almost like, this new drug is going to emerge onto the market on October the 17th that nobody ever seen before, and oh my God, what are we going to do?
Exactly. It's like, oh my God, now what? It's like something that's never been around before. Ooh.
Yeah. For my non-medical friends, they'll have reason to celebrate, but for many patients, they're already walking down the street smoking a joint or carrying possession.
Have
been for
ages.
Yeah. I toke in public. Hashtag I toke in public.
Yes, that's right.
It's been that way for years. I mean, I want to get into the second part of your test, but I don't want to do it yet because we're 3 minutes away from break, and I need way more than 3 minutes for that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So we're going to skip over to something else, and we'll just fill the gap of time here. You see there being, in the onset of legalization, I guess, Mik, you see it being more problematic for a lot of people, I guess, eh?
Well, what it is you've got so much focus on this industry now, and in so many areas, like the stock market, you've got the medical users, there was major stakeholders. You've got the alternative market, as I like to refer to it, which are your dispensaries and the people like us who have been in the game for as long as we have and are trying to just continue and earn a living and normalize the whole thing. And so all these forces, though, have something to say, and they all bring something to the table. And I think it needs to work itself out, but, we've overgrown the government so well that the hysteria is bound to just die off because it's unfounded on and unbiased, based on nothing. It's just a hype from too much media.
Yeah.
It's almost like we've peaked and crested on the issue before it's even come to legalization. It's almost like kind of dying off before the day even gets here.
Yeah.
It's like we jump the gun. They set up all these websites and countdowns, and everyone's already. It's like, it's still 2 weeks. Okay, whatever. We're still smoking weed. We still get high every day. I go outside. I buy pot anywhere I want. I mean, it's like, so what? I've been doing that for years. Nothing's changed.
Yeah. I look at one good option is that when it comes to maybe you might want to try a strain before you go grow it. That this may allow you an opportunity to maybe test something before you spend time growing it, all the way through and harvesting and then finding out that, maybe it wasn't
slightly easier access for those Yeah, slightly easier access those that are in rural parts of our country as well. I mean, people that have been in the cities like, Vancouver and Toronto and Ottawa and that, you've had the privilege of having the dispensaries and stuff like that. As soon as you venture outside of those cities, those services aren't available. So for rural Canada, this will be a big windfall.
Oh, not even rural Canada. I mean, on my trip across the country this summer, even in places like Regina, Winnipeg, not as simple as you think to just go find marijuana.
Yeah.
I was using
become accustomed to a different life in Vancouver and in Toronto, and then you see it elsewhere, and it's like, wow, really?
Yeah. No, I had to rely on social media.
Yeah.
So, which again is another way that a lot of people probably don't realize how we're staying in touch with each other. And we're passing through town. Well, of course we hook up each other and look after each other. So it's like I wheel into a town. Hey, where's my homies?
Where's town?
Where's the cannabis community?
Yeah, and we pull together in that aspect. It's like, oh, you're looking? Yeah, okay, I can help you. Yeah.
You're in so-and-so town, call this person. Oh, I had so many people on Facebook sending me messages. It was hilarious.
Yeah. You're hooked up all the way from one end to the other, right? I mean, we pulled together as a community, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Time for us to take a break.
All right, sounds good. When we come back, we'll come back with part 2 of Nick's experience.
Yeah. Okay, Nick, what we normally do is we will have a song or something that relates to the person who's our guest. Tonight I don't have music before we go into our commercial breaks, but I do have some experiences of Australia's saliva test program for checking for cannabis. So we'll be hearing some of that when we go in and out of our breaks tonight. So, all right. And then after the break, Kim and I will continue our discussion with Mik Mann. You're listening to the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at lifestyleradio.net.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong. And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time. 420 Radio? Ooh.
Please hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
So it's a pretty simple system. Up front there's a screening test for the presence of these drugs in your oral fluid. And so that screening test essentially is a drug wipe that immediately tests for the presence of the active component of cannabis, THC, amphetamines and ecstasy.
While drug testing has been around for more than a decade, in the last 12 months the number of drivers being caught has spiked.
With 3 times more mobile drug testing on New South Wales roads. MDT, there's no escaping it.
Canada, the time to act is now. These days, your customers are seeking variety. Increase your earning potential by expanding your inventory with CC Nexus, Canada's largest cannabis seed wholesaler. CC Nexus stocks over 60 reputable breeders, including Canuck seeds, with a wealth of autoflower, regular, feminized, and CBD strains. All first-time customers will receive a free pack of Canuck seeds, plus a mug, t-shirt, and additional promotional materials. Add strains and increase your profit with CC Nexus, your Canadian-owned and operated wholesaler of cannabis seeds. Discreet, worldwide stealth shipping from Canada, supporting you locally. Call today, 1-844-843-7995, 1-844-843-7995, or visit us at ccnexus.global.
Are you looking for cannabis news, education, and people's opinions? Are you looking to learn what Canadian and international cannabis advocates are doing, not only now, but what got them to this point in their lives, and what does the future hold for them? Do you want to learn how patients are using cannabis as their daily medication, or learn how their cannabis use helps them with their medical condition? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I'm going to suggest to you to tune in to Lifestyle Radio. Catch their live weekly shows and have your questions and concerns answered and find the experience you're looking for. Monday, Catch your weekly news broadcast with the Reef Reporters. Then on Wednesday, get several hours worth of cannabis public education. We get things started with Cannabis and Coffee with Tamarijuana. Finish up your evening with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with Al Graham and joint host Kim Cooper and Alicia Yashishin. No week would be complete without tuning into Friday night's program, the 420 Radio Show featuring Al Rapp and the 420 Radio crew, Mary Jane Baker and Marcel Gagnac. Cannabis is a lifestyle, and you can catch all your cannabis lifestyle information right here at lifestyleradio.net or at our sister site, 420radio.ca. Hi, this is Al Graham of the Pace Radio Show. Are you keeping pace, as in keeping people advocating cannabis education? If you're not, and you're a cannabis consumer, then why not? Others are working hard every day to help educate people about cannabis so you can enjoy your daily 420. Get involved and speak out. Be loud and proud so that you can keep pace. Tune into the Pace Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear about people advocating cannabis education here on lifestyleradio.ca.
Man, have you been to Canadays yet? Canadays, Campbellford's premier cannabis culture shop. They've got bongs, oil rigs, grinders, and papers. Everything you need for consumption. They've got seeds, soil, nutrients, and dome trays too. Everything you need for cultivation. Get top quality seeds from top suppliers like Canuck and wholesaler Nexus. Canadays. They've got all kinds of awesome cannabis novelties, clothing, and apparel. I know, right? It's a lot more than just a bong shop. Interested in gaining legal access? Canadays can help. They're a PACE information center. You know, people advocating cannabis education. Come by the shop and check it out. Bridge Street West, Campbellford. Canadays. Have your say without saying a word. Canadays.ca.
This month, Lismore lawyer Steve Bolt was involved in a case that has ignited debate on the fairness and accuracy of roadside drug testing. A case against one of Steve's clients, Joseph Carroll, was thrown out by a local magistrate who labelled the drug driving laws as mysterious and uncertain by design.
Very, very commonly what people have said to us and we've said to the court is, yes, I admit that I had some THC in my saliva. Yes, I was the driver, but I had that cannabis, the day before or 2 days before, had no impairment, and please show some leniency.
We're back from our break. You're listening to the Pace Radio Show, and we are live here at lifestyleradio.net. Tonight on the program, and joined by our guest, Mik Mann, and my joint host, Kim Cooper. Well, Kim, we were talking a bit about this Draeger 5000 machine in the first segment of the program, and I think you want to dig into it some more.
Yeah, I do. Mik Mann test not only consisted of the first one that he went for, the DRE, but then from my understanding, there was quite a period of time that passed, and then he had a follow-up test with the Draeger 5000. So, Mik, tell us about the next segment of your test.
Yeah, what can I say? The digital aspect.
Yeah, the digital age.
Yeah, the digital part of the testing. Yeah, that's real interesting. On a follow-up day, I met with the CTV crew downtown, and we went to a law firm. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the firm at the moment. And anyways, but they specialize actually in impaired driving cases. That's their specialty.
Okay.
Yeah. So like when you go in their office, they've got all these different old or different years, like eras of impaired or breathalyzer machines, on the shelves and stuff, like displayed. Yeah. It's kind of cool. Obviously, they've been in the game a long time. So we go in the office. Now, this is around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, actually. And the last puff I had was at 10 o'clock previous night before I went to bed.
All right.
So we're looking at 10, 11 hours have gone by.
Right. You've had a good night's sleep?
Good night's sleep. I had a nice breakfast, had my coffee.
Right.
Went no wake and bake, so I had, straight down and did the test. And I figured, let's get this over with because I want to smoke weed.
Right. Let's get her done.
So anyhow, we do the swab. Now, I'd like to mention, okay, there's a time frame. While you're rubbing this swab on the inside of your cheek, it's a minimum per the instructions of the machine. That takes 4 minutes minimum.
So you got this little lollipop sucker with a sponge on it in your cheek for 4 minutes.
Exactly. I'm like, they give it to me. I'm rubbing it around in there, and okay, do. She goes, okay, like she's timing me, and I hand it back, and she goes, oh, there's like a little blue indicator in this clear tube that's attached to, and if it doesn't turn blue, it's not good enough. You got to do it some more.
Not wet enough.
So we did it. Yeah, not wet enough. So I had to do it for another 2 minutes. She's like, well, go down in like behind your gum line. I go, well, why didn't you tell me that in the first place?
Yeah.
The inside of my cheek. Anyhow, I do it for another 2 minutes. So we're basically up to 6 minutes now.
Okay.
All right. So, okay, good. She puts it in the machine. Now, it's going to take a minimum of 10 minutes to get a results back.
So we're pushing the 20-minute mark now.
We're basically, that's the point I wanted to make, is these tests, these Drager 5000 tests, will take at least minimum 20 minutes to administer per person. So that's probably one of the reasons why Vancouver and Delta have both publicly said they will not be using them.
Yeah, even Ottawa.
Ottawa, a lot of provinces, a lot of townships are opting out of using it. They're saying, no, we're going to watch the next guy. Now, your test, you had it done. This is indoors in Vancouver in a climate-controlled building where elements were not a problem. So, I mean, the elements outside. Yeah, you're not minus 40 here or nothing.
Like no, nothing like that. No.
Optimal conditions, right?
Yeah. Perfect conditions. Now, it's also, I should tell you, it doesn't just test for weed. It's testing also for cocaine and for meth.
Okay.
So it does test for all those three things at the same time.
Okay.
So needless to say, after I think it was about 10 minutes, he came up with a positive for cannabis. This was 10 hours.
10 hours.
The lawyer, Kayla, she said quite clearly, listen, I've been sitting here with me, she said that I've been sitting here with I've been talking to Michael for, hours, or for the last 40 minutes or whatever, and it's just this guy's, not high at all. I would never suspect that he was, under the influence or impaired in any way.
Yeah.
But under the law, they're going to say that is an impairment.
Right. So as a patient, any patient out there that is a daily user, you're getting out of bed, you can't drive your car.
No. I think if you have a heavy weekend, you probably can't drive your car for 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
This is, and everybody's different because the cannabis, THC actually stores in your fat cells.
Right.
And, if somebody like who's been a medical user for a number of years, I think it would take you months before you would test clean.
Yeah.
There's test strips, pee test strips available widely everywhere now, and you're going to probably see more of them.
Yeah.
So it's going to be real simple. You can sit there and say, well, I haven't smoked any pot, but, oh, look, I'm testing positive, and you do it yourself at home. So they're going to have to come up with something different because I think this is actually, the whole thing is going to have a hard time standing up in a court of law.
Well, it comes down to use. Use doesn't equate impairment, right?
Well, that's just it. And the other point is, the police are pretty much up to speed and agree that testing positive also doesn't equate to impairment, which is why the cops aren't stupid. They're looking at the Dragger 5000 as like, Jesus, Ottawa, what do you want us to do with this stupid thing?
Exactly.
You
Now,
know,
a lot
like
of people are saying...
yeah, I mean, the cops are cops, but they're people too. And like the feed that I'm getting now, the other feed we got from the police, because the media asked them about, you know, blood testing and such.
Right.
And the cops also said that they would definitely want to shy away from that, taking blood. There's just too many complications and too many risks involved.
Yeah.
They want to go towards piss test. That is the where they're leaning, I think, towards. If there's going to be impairment charges, things like that, I think they're going to lean towards a urine test, or maybe take a hair sample.
Yeah.
Because
bodily fluids. I mean, that's forcing a bodily fluid. I mean, you're not supposed to be able to do that, right?
Oh no, they can do that now. They can take bodily fluids. They can request a fluid sample if they suspect.
Didn't they years ago eliminate that part as far as the blood withdrawal with alcohol?
I'm not sure. Like I say, the blood one's a different one, but now with that new drug driving law that came out, I forget the name of the act, but
46.
They are allowed to demand fluid samples.
Yeah, I think that's going to wind up being a challenge in the long run, along with everything else with this new plan of theirs that they've got out now. I mean, some of these things are just ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and I think another part of it is, you've got different police forces saying different things. Some officers can use pot, not at work. Others are saying, no, you can't use it at all. There's going to be an awful lot of challenges about who can say, whether you can test positive in your workforce.
Yeah.
Because people are going to say, well, no, I'm showing up fit for work. I use in the evenings at night.
Yeah.
So what I think the best thing that can come out of all of this is the fact that if we can just get to the truth and realize that cannabis does not impair your judgment, and if most people, if they have to fly a plane, are not going to go do bong rips right before they do that.
That's right.
Because, cannabis doesn't make you stupid.
No.
It's not like, oh, here, hold my bong and watch this.
Yeah, no, we don't do that.
It doesn't work that way.
The hold my beer syndrome doesn't happen with cannabis. It's the complete opposite.
No, we don't have that hold my beer, watch this.
Yeah,
No,
we don't do that.
You don't see a ton of video on YouTube of people doing stupid things on pot.
No, you don't see any of it.
There's an awful lot, but there's no shortage of those of alcohol use.
That's right. And that's perfectly acceptable to them. A lot of you touched on, some of the police forces and stuff, and, the use of the testing that you did with the Dragger 5000 and that. So the lawyer's office, I guess they're looking forward to the first challenge of such a case, right?
Oh yeah, they were asked, and they made no qualms about it. Oh yeah, she kind of smiles at. Oh yeah, there'll be challenges. They expect lots of work.
Yeah, for sure.
Did that police officer, when he determined that you were impaired, would give you a 12-hour suspension or something? Was that
24? He would have said
24 hours. So was that just based on his visual test of you, and it didn't include the information from the Dragger?
No, that's right. I did the Dragger following, a few days later, the following week.
Yeah. Okay. All right. When I read the article there, I thought, okay.
All right. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, they made it sound like it was together, but it was on 2 separate days, right? Yeah.
Okay. All right. The magic of media, right?
Well, I mean, that's it. And you got to take it with a grain of salt. I mean, they do call it lamestream media.
Yeah.
All in all, I think they did a pretty fair job on the reporting. Because some of us, you, Kim, myself, we know they're not always that fair. They'll do a story, and when you see it, you're like, well, that's totally out of context.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't say it that way in that context, and you took it out and put it in something else, and it doesn't work that way. It happens all the time.
Yeah, they take one little bit of what you said, and then they'll say something else, and it sounds like you're, like, no, that's not what I was saying at all.
No. Yeah, they do that quite a bit. It was good to see that they at least did some fair reporting. I think my one criticism of it would be with your counterpart, the woman that was on the oil drops there. I would have liked to have seen her take that test without the medication.
Yeah, well, she did do hers with and without, and she did walk better without. Like the first time she did it, she didn't stumble, but she was wobbly, extremely wobbly, and having extreme difficulty. So the drug recognition expert at that point should have said, okay, we'll move on to a different test. This isn't suitable for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could have made that observation. He could have saw she works with a cane. Yeah. You know, you could see she's got issues. She's already told him, oh yeah, I have balance problems, and you know, this is like she literally said that. And now he didn't
still carried on.
He's got 11 other or 10 other parts of a test he could have done on her. Instead, he chose to make her do something that obviously she's going to fail.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I was a drug recognition expert, I wouldn't get someone on a cane saying, oh, yeah, you're going to make you walk the line. Here, let me just kick that cane out from underneath you there.
So they could pick what they want out of those 12 tests and actually
I don't know the real protocol, but I'm assuming they could, yeah.
Well, there has to be something in place for the handicapped, right? I mean, what about somebody in a chair?
Well,
they still
actually,
drive.
I'm not sure there is. There really isn't something in place. There's more like it's a discretionary thing.
Yeah, because I mean that's where my head goes.
It's up to their discretion. So if you're in a chair, he's going to go, "Oh, well, you can't hold your balance." You're going to look at him and go, "Dude, I'm in a chair. Use some discretion."
Yeah, yeah.
He's not going to obviously he wouldn't do that, but. The point, it's kind of a ridiculous example, but I
know what you mean. I do, absolutely, and that's where my head goes, you know. Like, and some of these guys, I got to think that bias has to come into play. They're having a bad day. Their views on cannabis, their views on your particular
demeanor. Long hair
exactly.
And a 420 T-shirt.
They're coming after you.
Exactly. So the trick
even somebody wearing a hat with a cannabis leaf on the hat, and the officer drives by and sees them.
Yeah, exactly. Are you now a target?
That's probable cause. That's probable cause. You're probably a user. You're wearing. You got a weed leaf on your hat. I actually took all the cannabis-related patches and everything off all of my leathers.
Yeah,
and
it's sad
and I don't
that you got to do that.
Yeah, no, there's literally, so when I get stopped, there's absolutely nothing on me or my vehicle that would suggest that I was pro-cannabis.
Wow.
But I mean, it's sad that we are going backwards, right? With legalization, we're backpedaling.
I'd have to get a whole new wardrobe.
But that's when I'm driving, right? When I'm not driving, I'm highly pro-cannabis.
Well, of course, yes.
You know, if I'm taking transit, it's like... Hey, where's my one hitter?
Yeah. But precautionary measures these days have to be taken so we don't become a target.
Well, yeah, and I think, but the nice part is, we got to look at though, is now we can come after, you know, the rules without having to look like we're defending ourselves from doing something wrong.
Yeah. Come at it from a new angle.
We're on the, it's like somebody gives me the funny look, I'll go, excuse me, do you look at someone smoking a cigarette like that?
Yeah.
Right? Or, you know, you're not breaking a rule. It's like if I'm standing there drinking a Starbucks or if I'm standing there smoking a bowl, who cares? They're both legal.
Yeah.
They're both drugs. They're both legal.
Yeah.
And we have to get people to realize it's just like having a coffee. Or a cigarette.
Yeah. or a glass of
in
wine or anything
public.
else. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely, absolutely. It's an evolving situation, that's for sure. Going to switch gears just a little bit. Out west there in BC, we expect to see a lot of changes. Now, a lot of people equate, legalization being at the forefront happening in BC. We know largely that was central Vancouver that got things going as far as the dispensaries going and pushing the envelope for licensing dispensaries and that kind of thing. And you guys have gotten great things done in Vancouver with the dispensary industry down there and having products available for patients. With the new regime, a lot is going to change. There's been some scuttlebutt. Some are going to stay open. Some are closing and going over to the new regime. As it gets closer, Mick, what are we seeing in Vancouver?
Well, there's definitely no question. There's been a lot of dispensaries closing. Some of them have, as you said, have posted, signs, or they've let people know that their customers know they are reopening after legalization and they are getting into the legal program. Some of the other ones have openly said, like Dana Larson, for instance, his dispensary said that, they don't see the new program as easing access for patients, so they intend to stay open.
Yep.
I think, what Dana mentioned made a good point, and he said that, we'll see what happens, because if the police come and start shutting down dispensaries, they'll have to reevaluate. But if they stay open and nothing happens, he suspects you'll see other dispensaries reopening up very quickly.
Right. So it all depends on how does the city approach it.
Right. And, we're going into a mayoral race here in Vancouver. We have an election for that coming up. And the police have gotten some bad press recently with the overdose prevention site seizures.
Yeah, that Sarah Blythe thing, it was tragic.
Yeah, that. And just recently, so they kind of defended that, but just the other day, they've backstroked in the media again and taken a different view and completely pulled back again. So, interesting to see whether or not they will take a run at the dispensaries, especially after having to backpedal. The public, especially here in Vancouver, is very pro-pot.
Yeah.
And they have a very difficult time in the city trying to make any kind of stance or any kind of concentrated effort against the cannabis community without a lot of blowback.
Yeah, I think so too. You're very organized there. I mean, you guys came together a long time ago, and you guys got your shit together and became very vocal.
Yeah. People like Dana Larson and, Jeremiah Vandermeer, David Malmo-Levine, just to name a few, and so many other hard-working, really dedicated activists and that, have just come forward and just said, no, this is what we're doing. But, it makes it easier for every time one person opens, there's usually one person who goes, I can do that too. And then three people say, well, geez, look, those two guys are doing it. I'm going to do it, and three more people do it, and pretty soon it's unstoppable. And that's really how it all started.
Yes,
was
right.
That, once one person opened up and in the the sky didn't fall, somebody else said, gee, I'm going to try.
It's like the 420s here in Ontario. I remember at one time there was only the one down in Niagara. Next thing you knew, over the years, as people saw, those ones get done and no hassles, then they wanted to start one in their own hometown.
And they're still springing up. We had the very first one here in Timmins this year. And, I mean, new ones are happening across the province all the time. Still to this day, we're starting new ones.
Well, people ask, I regularly get asked, what's going to happen to 420 in Vancouver now that it's legal? Which I usually laugh. Very loud. It makes me, but I go, what do you mean? Nothing. It's going to go on like always.
That's right.
We couldn't shut it down if we told people don't come. they would still show up.
Yeah.
It's out of our hands at this point. Believe me, this is,
It's an entity of its own.
the question needs to be asked of the candidates in the upcoming civic election, whether or not they would support the city if they were elected. Would the city support in them the 420 celebrations now that it's illegal?
Yeah.
And
from
just
a
have
protest to a celebration.
have a little, shut the law down for one day and say, we're going to allow public consumption in this area in the park.
Yeah.
But
they have to
we'll
do
see.
something, I think, at this point to accommodate, because, as you say, it's an entity of its own now. It has a mind and a body and a spirit all by itself, and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Legalization doesn't shut down rallies.
That's right.
If we were, trust me, if they have the same Parks Board today as we do next year, no. You know what they'd say? No way, because you're all going to smoke in public, and that's illegal, and you're not allowed to do this, and that's the kind of response we get from the city usually. Actually, not the city so much, but the Parks Board has been very, not very helpful towards us.
Well, and we all know what the result is of, after their concerts that have beer tents and, venues for music and that kind of thing. And it's left in a complete shambles, a mess, and the grass is destroyed. But,
they just announced, I saw today, that they're planning to sell beer or alcohol on 2 of the beaches in Stanley Park this summer. What could go wrong?
What could possibly go
wrong? Just wait till they pull the first drunk guy. We have to rescue him out of the ocean.
Yeah, I was going to say they're going to be drowning, but it's not drowning in beer.
Yeah, exactly. Just wait. There'll be a few of this, hold this, watch this thing from it. Someone will get kicked out of the beer gardens. They'll wander down to the ocean, and next thing you know, they're going to have to get rescued.
Yeah. Here, hold my beer.
Okay, Nick and Kim, it's break time.
All right.
Top of the hour.
By and by.
As I mentioned earlier, we go into tonight's commercial breaks. You're going to hear about the Australia version of their saliva test and what's happened down there. Then after the break, Kim and I will continue our discussion with Mik Mann. You're listening to the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at LifestyleRadio.net.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Glenn was pulled over last year by an RBT after a fishing trip with some mates. He was the designated driver, so he passed the alcohol test.
With such a colourful address as High Street, Nimbin, I was then asked to do a random drug side test, which I was produced positive and then was placed under arrest. Looking back on it, the time frame between the last time that I'd consumed cannabis and my positive test, that would have been around about 18 hours.
Man, have you been to Canadays yet? Canadays, Campbellford's premier cannabis culture shop. They've got bongs, oil rigs, grinders, and papers. Everything you need for consumption. They've got seeds, soil, nutrients, and dome trays too. Everything you need for cultivation. Get top quality seeds from top suppliers like Canuck and wholesaler Nexus. Canadays. They've got all kinds of awesome cannabis novelties, clothing, and apparel. I know, right? It's a lot more than just a bong shop. Interested in gaining legal access? Canadays can help. They're a PACE information center. You know, people advocating cannabis education. Come by the shop and check it out. Bridge Street West, Campbellford. Canadays. Have your say without saying a word. Canadays.ca.
Hey, it's Al Graham. Did you know that the nominations for the Canadian Cannabis Awards have been announced? Well, I'm delighted to say that for the second year in a row, the Pace Radio Show has been nominated for the top podcast. If you agree, Kim, Alicia, Debbie, as well as myself would appreciate and thank you if you went to CanadianCannabisAwards.com and voted for our program. You can find the Pace Radio Show in the top podcast category, and while you're there, you can also vote for Kim Cooper as the top influencer. Thank you for your vote, and thank you for the support. We really appreciate it.
This is Northern Ontario, Kim Cooper. Catch me on The Reefer Reporters, aired on lifestyleradio.net. Available for replay or download on Lifestyle Radio or Spreaker.
Tune in to DJ Passion from the land of Ganja, the island of Jamaica, when he comes to you live every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on lifestyleradio.net. Listen in until midnight every weekend as he spins your favorite reggae tunes, including the classics, from Butterfly's Passion, Bed and Breakfast Above Discovery Bay. DJ Passion makes you feel like you are on the island. Head to the land of sun, fun, and ganja weekly when you tune in Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to Reggae Saturday with DJ Passion, live here on lifestyleradio.net.
Canada, the time to act is now. These days, your customers are seeking variety. Increase your earning potential by expanding your inventory with CC Nexus, Canada's largest cannabis seed wholesaler. CC Nexus stocks over 60 reputable breeders, including Canuck seeds, with a wealth of autoflower, regular, feminized, and CBD strains. All first-time customers will receive a free pack of Canuck seeds, plus a mug, t-shirt, and additional promotional materials. Add strains and increase your profit with CC Nexus, your Canadian-owned and operated wholesaler of cannabis seeds. Discreet, worldwide stealth shipping from Canada, supporting you locally. Call today, 1-844-843-7995, 1-844-843-7995, or visit us at ccnexus.global.
Jay Mallaby studies social work and lives in Lismore. Last year, he was arrested after being pulled up on a roadside drug test.
I had smoked a small amount of cannabis with some friends at a birthday party at my house the night before. So I waited 18 hours just to make sure. Yeah, to my surprise, it came up positive and I was arrested. Even though I didn't receive a criminal record or a conviction for the charge, my licence plate is in the police database, and if the police see me, which has happened 3 times, I'm immediately pulled over and saliva tested.
Hey, we're back from our break. If you miss our live shows, don't forget you can catch our podcasts at iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and other audio outlets. Tonight on the program, I'm joined by our guest, Mik Mann, and my joint host, Kim Cooper. Hey, Mick, I got a question for you before you hand you back over to Kim.
Sure, go ahead.
You went 10 hours, you tested positive. We just heard in that segment from Australia that fellow, he went 18 hours, and he still tested positive. They gave you a 24-hour suspension. What's the chances that you could come back after 24 hours and still test positive?
Oh, I'd say 90%. But yep. I suppose it would depend, though. If you're a regular user, you're going to test positive. If you were a non-user but happen to accidentally come in contact with cannabis, there's a chance you might not test positive after 24 hours. Mm-hmm. I'm not so, it would depend, I guess, on how much exposure you had.
Yeah. It'd be nice if they had done that a test after 24 hours, just to see if because basically you're approved to drive, but by their system, you may be still impaired.
Yeah, your test results could be exactly the same, yet you're approved to drive now and you couldn't before.
Exactly. That's a good point. The other something else I'd like to add, sure. When I mentioned the urine test, so if say they go to urine test, and there's a good possibility they will.
Yeah.
Here in British Columbia, I found out that the laboratory that does all of these types of tests, DNA testing and drug level testing and things like that, for the Crown, there's a 6-month waiting list as of today. So basically, if there's a big blitz on and all of a sudden they've got, say there's 300 pee samples, well, what does that do? Does that push that 6-month waiting period back further? So, but essentially, if it's 6 months, that means 6 months from when you were pulled over and gave a piss sample,
Yeah.
you could get a letter in the mail saying, oh, you have a 90-day suspension of your license, and it starts on so-and-so day. This would be six months later.
Yeah.
That'd be ridiculous.
Technically, the way the rule is now, that's a very foreseeable scenario. That's
And
all of these
things will wind up in the court. And a large reason why we have legalization was to alleviate the court system.
Oh, well, exactly. I mean, everything we've talked about here today on this show is just going to completely clog the court system even more.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and they've really done nothing to address the issue that they're trying to tackle in the first place. They're running around in circles, wasting money.
Yeah, and everybody that you talk to, every level of government, from federal down, everything in between, from federal to municipal, everybody is looking at this and making plans for this in their jurisdictions and municipalities, and they're all focusing on enforcement. That's all you hear is enforcement. From an enforcement strategy, we are doing this, and that's the sole focus. We've had 80 years of prohibition. Have they not learned that this doesn't work?
Well, no, and it's all a lot to do with politics. It's politicking. It's because, well, in theory, we're going to legalize marijuana. That's a great election promise. You'll get lots of votes.
Yeah.
Then you got all the people who are screaming, we can't have this. Oh, no, God, the sky will fall. The world will spin backwards. So to those people, they say, we have the Cannabis Act, and we're going to bring in strict regulations. So they're playing both sides of the sword.
Yeah.
This is how they're juggling the concept, because government is out there to get votes, not to do what's right for you or me or what's good for everybody else or good for the planet. It's what their job is to what's going to get us votes.
Yeah.
That's their job. And we've got to stop looking at government to fix anything. They couldn't find their asshole with both hands. Their only job is to find out where the votes are. They don't care about anything else. And we all have to start to realize that. So when we're talking about them or when we're discussing things with them, let's cut to the nitty-gritty here. Because none of what they're doing is addressing any of the problems. Their legalization is an absolute joke. Because it's like trying to say I'm an environmentalist and we're going to build pipelines. You can't have it both ways.
That's right.
And I think what's really happening with the internet and the fact that we're all out on the same page and the truth is really out there now is the fact that we all have to realize these guys can't fix it.
No.
They'll never fix it as long as they keep doing the process they're doing. They're demonize it on one hand and say they're going to legalize it on the other.
Right.
You can't have it both ways.
Well, we've got our wonderful Prime Minister Trudeau that is legalizing cannabis in Canada and signing on to the brand new war on drugs in the United States.
Exactly. The government is so hypocritical and so obvious.
Yeah.
That, it really goes back to what we did back 18 years ago, 17 years ago, was we went to court and the courts deemed that the government could not prohibit medical marijuana.
That's right.
And therefore then the government turned around and said, oh God, we can't do that. Let's appeal it. And they lost their appeal. So we have medical marijuana. However, the government did the worst things possible to that program for 14 years. They went to we took them to court 9 times. We won 8.
Right.
Yeah.
Over a 14-year period.
That's right.
Yeah. And Terry Parker's case.
Sure. We have to keep in mind who we're dealing with here. And I'm talking about a liberal government, a conservative government, and then another liberal government.
That's right. There's been several of them over the course of that 14 years. You bring up an interesting point, Mick, bringing in the patients and that. And I mean, basically, we are the patients are the ones that got us to the point that we are at now with legalization. If we had
No
not
question.
pushed the envelope with medicinal value cannabis, then we wouldn't be here today. Now, given that, I mean, a lot of the new regulations are coming down on the backs of patients, and that's how we see it. Do you think that police forces and government officials in general are prepared for the segregation of medicinal and non-medicinal users? Do you think that non-medicinal users will pay the price and be hassled because they're unaware that we have a separate system and we're exempt from a lot of these regs?
Yeah, I do actually see that definitely for two reasons, actually a couple more reasons. The non-medical users will tend to be the newer users.
Yeah.
And the people that, like you hear people yourself quite often say, well, pot's legal in Canada, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hear that all the time. And I look at I look at them and I go, absolutely not. They go, oh, but I thought it was legal. I thought because they see the shops everywhere and they hear the stories and people's perception is it's legal and they see people smoking up everywhere and nobody seems to care. And the police do, in a lot of people's eyes, the cops do absolutely nothing about it.
I got to know about you guys.
Police definitely want to get rid of that perception that we're not doing anything because that bugs them. Yeah. That doesn't look good on them, and it makes it look like they're not doing their job, and it bothers people when they see that the cops give that perception they're not doing their job.
All you use is smoking in public. Has anybody ever come up to you, to either one of you, come up to you and say, "Hey, you're not supposed to be doing that. That's against the law"?
Oh yes, I have. I've had
you?
that. Yes.
I've had a couple of older people who wasn't worth the argument, try to say that to me, but most people will come up and say, "Dude, that smells great."
Yeah.
But I think that's the big difference for me in rural Canada. I mean, I'm in northern Ontario in the middle of bumfuck nowhere in Timmins here, and we've traveled around across the north from little teeny tiny towns to larger city type places, still nothing like Toronto or Vancouver. But things are very different in rural Canada. We don't have the acceptance here. I get dirty looks. I get comments a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I live in the town.
When I used to live in rural, when I spent time in rural Canada, like small towns, got to remember I had really long hair.
Yeah.
And people kind of just thought, oh yeah, well, he looks like a hippie, and they expected as much. So I kind of got a little bit of a pass. When I was riding across Canada in small places and I would indulge, nobody looked twice at me, but I looked like a biker.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody. And then, of course, they'd look, and I'm wearing a patch that says, my chapter Vancouver on my vest, or they see the BC plate. And then they kind of smile and, okay, well, that explains it. You're from BC. You're from Vancouver. Oh, well, okay. It was almost like, oh, you're from Vancouver. Oh, okay, I get it. You smoke. Everybody smokes weed out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the ads that I put up, I was advertising for tonight's show, and I put up one on a Timmins buy and sell site out here that I'm having a show tonight. And actually, one of the comments was, "Oh, there she goes again, pushing drugs."
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, really? That's what I'm doing here, is it? Okay. All right.
Yeah. We've been doing this for 5 years, and I've never taken an order while we've been on the show.
There you go. You're pushing. You're pushing conversation.
Yeah. Giving people a voice so they can tell their stories, tell the truth. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm an enabler.
You're a bad influencer. Go ahead.
But back to your question. I think what really is going to come out very quickly is people are going to very quickly get the they're going to learn very fast to say, hey, if I get medical, I'm insulated.
Yeah.
Or I can grow more in 4 plants.
Well, but so much other stuff. Because, well, the lawyer said not to mention it, there is that whole, you're talking to somebody, whether it's a boss, whether it's a cop, or somebody else, and they're questioning your use or pot that comes up, and the first thing out of your mouth is, well, I'm medical. A lot of people don't want to take it any further than that because they feel, I'm intruding on this person. I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't think I should ask. Should I, maybe I'm out of place now. You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of stops people from pursuing too much questions. Or it's an easy way to say, look, it's none of your business is my medical history. Fuck off.
Yeah,
you can always pull that one out. But it does, so I think you're going to see a big rush for people to sign up with this whole medical thing, regardless whether they buy from the LPs or not. They just want to get the medical thing. They want a note from their doctor or a recommendation from their doctor, and they'll realize that that's all they need.
Yeah, and I think that's
largely going to change a lot.
I think that's largely what the government is concerned about. That's been the voice that they've been saying as well, saying, they're worried that a lot of people are going to gravitate towards the medical department sort of regime instead, and that's what their reason was for adding the excise tax on.
Yeah, I think that was
They thought people were going to use medical to not pay the excise tax, so that's why they're adding excise tax onto medical as well. So I think the government largely agrees with your stand as well, Mick, that people may gravitate towards that regime, maybe for safety, maybe for savings, maybe for other things. But I don't know, personally, I think a lot of people that are users or consumers of cannabis, most of them that are considered rec should be medical. And I think are self-medicating this entire time and maybe should be followed by a doctor on.
Oh, well, I don't disagree with that statement. I think that all use is some medical or preventive, at least. It's like taking vitamins. You're preventing medical issues.
Yeah.
So there's that to be said, definitely. But, I think, for instance, I went to the AGM of my condo last week, and they brought it up. They said, we can't actually vote on it or bring it up now because it's not legal. But after October 17th, they were mentioning about cannabis in the building and how they want to ban growing and selling and all this other stuff.
New condo rules.
And they said use. So I got up and I said, well, listen, first of all, if you're going to go for a cannabis use ban, you have to ban smoking. So it should be titled smoking ban. And then you can add, and no growing of plants and da-da-da-da-da. Because you can't ban cannabis and then still allow tobacco use in the building, because we're allowed to smoke in this building.
Well, then they can't ban cannabis.
Well, they could have to make it a no-smoking building is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it would have to encompass all smoking.
Don't come to the strata and say, we're banning cannabis, because people will think, we're banning marijuana, and then they're voting on that. No, we're banning smoking of anything, so make sure everybody understands. The second thing was I told him also, I said, you can't ban medical use, and he was very clear. He said, no, we can't. We've spoken to our lawyers. We're not allowed to. So, again, if you're in a condo, they want to ban use, all you got to do is go get medical, and you're in. Yeah. You can smoke in your condo till your face comes off.
Yeah.
I mean, unless of course you rent and the landlord's got a no smoking policy in your rental agreement. That's different.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I mean, if more people do wind up gravitating towards the medical use, then I mean, all of these arbitrary decisions in these buildings are going to be meaningless.
Exactly. And again, nothing will happen. And the sky won't fall, and nothing will change, and the sun will come up tomorrow, and it'll be another day just like the last day.
That's right.
And people will very quickly, and the whole issue is just going to go away. Because it really is a non-issue to begin with. The government's making issues. They're inventing issues at this point. They're pulling stuff out that doesn't exist. If there was a problem with impaired driving and cannabis, there would be statistics to show this. There is nothing at all.
Yeah, like we said, it's not a brand new drug that's coming on October 17th. It's been in use for, a millennia, right?
Well, how many medical users since 2001 in this country drive their cars every day and haven't had an issue? Because trust me, if there was a whole bunch of MMAR users and exemption and all the different programs that were crashing up their cars, there would have been a news story about it ages ago.
A long time ago, for sure.
And
so many people are unaware. Yeah, and so many people are unaware that we've even had a medical regime for over 15 years.
Well, this is it. One thing, at least medical, I'm laughing now to all the people that looked at me and said, "Oh, you medical guys, this is just a way to get legal pot." I was like, yeah. I looked at them then and I went, duh, you think?
That's how a lot of places have gone from medical and then switched over to legal, whether it's down in the U.S. or whether it's a country.
Yeah, it always starts with medical and then it advances.
People get to see the benefits, and then they get to see that it's not so scary, that the sky doesn't fall in.
Yeah.
And
we talked a little bit about some of the legal challenges, just there you were saying, you see, what other sort of legal stuff do you see happening in the future, Mik?
Well, because now that it is a legal substance, I definitely see the LPs taking the government to court pretty quickly, or maybe some of them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because they're being far too restrictive. I think the LPs want to get concentrates on the market, and they want to do it quick.
Yeah.
Because I really feel that's the future of the big markets. They're not growing excellent weed in factory farms. It's very difficult to do. This I know as a professional grower myself.
Yeah.
Craft cannabis grown in small batches is always the best.
Absolutely.
But massive grows, especially even out when I used to do big outdoor grows, the pot was okay, but it made really good concentrates. For instance, I used to make a lot of hash out of my outdoor.
Yeah.
It wasn't really worth it was actually more valuable as a concentrate.
Right.
And I see the same thing happening with these, indoor acreages. Harvest it all and turn it into, concentrates. You've increased the value of your crop, the value of your company, and it's something that you got a lot more control over in quality.
Yeah, for sure. And concentrate market is huge these days. People, longtime cannabis flower consumers have gravitated in droves towards concentrates for the medicinal value, right?
Oh, but yeah, the whole dab thing is just off the charts. I mean, it's literally, and then you've got the CBD market. And then there's all these offshoots, too, that they're talking about. The glass market, the custom glass market's just about ready to explode.
Yeah.
Nice.
Again, which it's been doing so well for so long, it's just going to go even bigger.
Yeah.
So many more things now. They're talking about the drink things and, any laws that are prohibitive or regulations. I see companies that want to come out and get in the game taking the government to court and challenging these laws.
Yeah. And they're having issues with the advertising too, right?
So, and this is not a criminal court challenge. Now we're talking a civil challenge, a business law and things like that. So these are I've been talking about these for a few years, that some of the things we look forward to with legalization is now we can, go to court where we're not having to protect ourselves with the fear of going to jail. This is a corporate case where you're going after big government because they're not allowing your corporation to do what it wants. It's got unfair laws and advantages.
Yep.
Protectionism and things like that, and racketeering and all kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's some of the other legal that I'm really excited that I think is going to come out pretty quick. And you'll see a lot of this come out very early. The government can make promises. Well, a year from now, we're going to look at this. And they're not going to wait. There's far too much money involved. And if they do drag their heels, it's just going to add. It's going to look like the whole legalization thing is just a big failure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, especially you've got consumers that have been already, like you look at shops that are in Vancouver and in Toronto and Ottawa and stuff. We've had access to edibles, to concentrates, to drinks, to bath bombs, to lotions and potions and soaps, and you name it, and it is out there. And now you're gonna. Yeah, and that's just scratching the surface. And now you're saying, okay, we're gonna take it all off the shelf. And y'all got to wait a year, and we're going to bring it back one at a time.
Oh,
well, who the hell's going to do that?
Yeah. We've had a thriving billion-dollar market in BC alone for so long now that it's, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, just look at those grassroots-driven markets that are going on between the green markets of the past.
Yeah. I mean, these
farmers markets.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are actually starting to, this is becoming kind of funny because in some of the traditional North Shore public markets on the weekends, you're finding people that are sneaking in and setting up little booths and selling a little weed and then leaving before they get in trouble.
Yeah.
They're literally, they're setting up a pop-up tent around the corner from malls and things, and there's
just be there real quick, sell out in an hour, and I'm gone.
And it's funny, for that short time they're there, business is steady.
Yeah.
Steady. And I think with legalization, I'm just laughing. I'm wondering who the first person is going to be to stand around the corner from the government LP store. Literally, you could have a guy stand there, people come up, and he'll say, listen, just go down the street and talk to my bro down there, and, they'll have it set up.
Store parking.
Save some money.
Yeah, they might have better weed.
Yeah.
This market has always, in my opinion, this market's been driven by two things, quality and price.
Yeah.
We don't care what we're paying if we're paying for quality. And if the quality's not there, then your price has to reflect that or we will go somewhere else. There's too much weed around.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody's buying garbage when there is so much quality around. It's like, what? I'm buying that off of you? No, I don't think so. I'm going up the road.
So, it'll be interesting to see. The big thing, I think, at this point, what a lot of people are waiting to see is how the police and the government are going to respond after the 18th.
Yeah.
Quebec there was a thing in the paper that they said in Quebec they're going to hunt down drug dealers.
Yeah.
Hunt them down.
Quebec is not the place to be. That's for sure.
Yeah, they can't even wear a friggin' pot leaf T-shirt there. You could be charged with it.
Yep.
Or selling it anyways. You're selling it.
Yep. Interesting stuff, but it's an evolving situation. And go on with you about this shit for hours, Mick. We'll definitely have to have you back on for a follow-up for sure. Hopefully good things happening on the horizon that we can discuss with you in business and your partnership in the future with media and maybe coming back to the airwaves and joining us in media presentations and keeping people educated.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of getting up there, but I still keep my hand in things a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I hear you too, man. I hear you too. Those bells, they're ringing. They're letting me know.
They are.
All right, Nick. This is where we give you a chance to do a shout-out. You can highlight person, place, a thing, anything along that line. Let people know where they can find you.
Well, I just want to say congratulations on Kim, especially for your nominations for your awards.
Oh, thank you, Mick.
For the show, and as well for the show, and also for being what is it? You're the influencer.
Yeah, I got nominated for influencer. Blow my mind.
I had to recheck that and said, oh, under the influence, but no, influencer. Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
So, yeah, I'm not doing a lot right now, but I just thought, that's all I really wanted to say. It just, no, it's a great show, and please keep it up. I'm glad that you guys are, doing what you do. We all have to do stuff. Keep it pushing forward.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Appreciate it, hon.
Okay, Kim?
Yeah, for me, my shout out is going to anybody who hears this podcast. Far and wide across this nation, and the next couple of weeks, it is municipal election time. People are voting for council members, mayors, and everything else that's in controllers in your neighborhoods. Get out. Speak to the people that are running. Find out what their stand on cannabis is. Are they bringing it into your community, or are they banning it? Are you getting a store, or are you going to get convicted? Find out and vote accordingly. Let them know you're out there and you're pro-cannabis, because I guarantee you the ones that are not pro-cannabis are definitely screaming. You have to scream louder. So be heard at election time in your municipality, please.
I went to our all candidates meeting in my little town there last week. And right there on the information of each candidate, there was one there that mentioned the word legalize marijuana.
Excellent.
She even had that in her brochure, and then I went and talked to her afterwards, and she gave me the printout that she had of information that she was using to arm herself with the questions that ever came out.
That's fantastic to see, and you have to support that, and those people that are going to be endorsed by me. I'm doing the same thing at our all candidates meeting tomorrow, and I'll be posting my results on Friday.
There you go. That's good. Grassroots advocacy. It works.
Well done.
All right, guys. I will be back next week with my joint host, Alicia Yashishin, and her special guest. Thank yous go out to our sponsors, CC Nexus, Canada's largest cannabis seed wholesaler. They're found at ccnexus.global. Our Canadays of Campbellford. That's where I'm at, right here in the front window of the store. As people on Facebook are seeing the picture that Wayne posted of me in the front window. And also to our producer, Al Rapp, the man with the baggie and the Shatterizer in the other hand, as well as a big thank you to our guests, Mik Mann. Mick, we really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about your experience with the cannabis saliva testing machine.
Happy to do it. Anytime, my friend. Anytime.
Thank you. Kim, to you, good luck in your influencer nomination. We got a month.
Yep, we got a month.
And we'll push it, as well as for people to get to vote for us for the radio show.
Vote for Pace Radio for sure. And thank you very much for Al for having me here and giving me the opportunity to have a voice.
You're welcome. Really appreciate what you've done for the show, and we always say thank you to you as well for everything you've done. And a big thank you to our listeners. Thank you for listening. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.